This is Benedict Forsyth, bringing you the latest TRIAC Chronicle recordings of 1873, reporting the news in even these darkest of times. The month is August, and what a year we have had so far, listeners. From the shores of America, where we heard the brave agents of TRIAC fought the colossal gargantuan monstrosity, to the great summit of nations at Howick House, there is certainly a lot to reflect on. With the war in the IEU and the introduction of independent Candy to the political scene, alongside the amalgamation of the new Republic of Caledonia into the RAP as a protectorate, there certainly has been a lot for us to think about, alongside the ongoing Martian conflict. But as we look at the stories in the public eye at the moment, I think it is important to remember that the Martian conflict is the focus that we should always be at the forefront of our minds. It is all well and good for us to dance around issues of world politics and who is attacking whom or what is the flavour of the month headline-wise, but we must remember that our planet is under threat of invasion and the human race is facing, if I may be so bold as to say it, annihilation if we do not successfully repel the alien menace. But that is enough for now. So let us turn our attention to the latest events in the world at large. The civil war in the IEU has finally come to an end. After the final battles against imperial resistance over the last few months have been quashed, the Mongol alliance has proclaimed total victory against the imperial family and now holds complete domination of the lands of the Union. Justice is swift in the Union, and the Empress and her closest advisers have, in the last few days, been tried by the new alliance and have been found guilty of the crime of genocide. And, in the early hours of yesterday morning, I have to report, they all took poison, ending the reign of the Dragon Empress, Mara Sakuramachi, paving the way for new leadership. It is worth noting at this point that Wu Ling, one of the main conspirators in the plot to destroy the Mongol nation, was not captured and remains at large. The great Khan Yubashi has stepped away from leadership of the nation to be with his people, and the dragon throne of the City of Pearls remains empty at this time. It is thought that now the Khan has declined the rulership, that Princess Sakura is the obvious choice to take the mantle of leadership and succeed her mother. As yet we have had no word of what will happen, but we await the news with bated breath. News from the Commonwealth now, as we look at the complicated situation that now exists in regards to this nation and its TRIAC membership, or indeed the lack of it. With the Commonwealth ejected from TRIAC for a year to, and I quote Sir Edmund Wigglesworth, cut out the cancer that is killing the nation, it seems that we are seeing a paradigm shift in the political landscape. The Thunderchild fiasco and the subsequent revelations that the Admiralty is allegedly under some form of outside influence is one that we at the Chronicle have found it hard to corroborate. What exactly is happening? What we know from one of our sources, who will remain nameless, is that due to some bad intelligence, Admiral Haig, a high-ranking member of the Admiralty, launched an assault on TRIAC Triangle Base, and in doing so, the majority of the Commonwealth North Atlantic Fleet was destroyed. This was all in an attempt to return the Thunderchild, now revealed to be Emily Thunderchild, a 16-year-old girl and incredibly powerful resonant, back to the hands of the nation after she was rescued by Lord Grey last year. Haig, it should be noted, has been under house arrest at Howick since the affair, and rumours are emerging that she was coerced and was not under control when carrying out the attacks. Reports of her walking in the grounds of Howick with Lord Grey and others have filtered out, and it seems there is much more to this story than we currently know. Since the summit, it seems that Emily has had her powers nullified by a serum created by the greatly talented pharmacists of TRIAC, and is no longer a pawn in the plans of the powers that be. Nevertheless, a number of questions have arisen in light of these events. Firstly, what on earth were the Commonwealth thinking when they decided that it would be acceptable to use a small child as what is essentially a battery to power a warship? The mind boggles at the thought. But there is also a second question that must be answered. A controversial one, but valid nonetheless. Was Lord Grey right to rescue the Thunderchild in the first place? He acted outside of the Accords and broke his neutrality to do so, after the club voted to send resources elsewhere at the behest of a call for aid in another part of the world. Was this right? Certainly it seemed the moral thing to do, but was it the correct decision for one who is in command of an organization that lives and dies by its rules of neutrality? Food for thought on a topic that I believe must be answered. I have it on good authority that an inquiry has been raised by one Mr. Smythe, head of TRIAC Internal Affairs Division, and it seems that Lord Grey will soon have to answer some very awkward questions. It seems not even the Lords of TRIAC are immune from the eyes of the law, and nor should they be. But who is the real loser in this fight between the Commonwealth and TRIAC? Well, listeners, I would say that it is the people of Madagascar, who have now, due to the weakened state of the defences on both sides, been scattered to the four winds by the devastating attack by what seems to be a new Martian offensive. I have the official report from TRIAC forward scouting units that the island is considered a total loss and is now in the complete control of the Martian invaders. Redweed now covers 75% of the island, and how many of the population escaped before the invasion is still being assessed. What we do know is the loss of life is extreme, and it seems that a change has been made in the Martian leadership. Our hearts go out to the people of Madagascar, and we hope to pray for their safety. On this subject, I have received an open letter from one Briani Dialon that I would like to read to you now. I am sure everyone now must be aware of what happened in Madagascar. I am not writing this to name names or point fingers or otherwise rage and scream at the injustice. That needs to be set aside, as hard as it is. The war we are fighting is not between ourselves, or at least it shouldn't be. Everyone is currently fighting for this planet against the Martian threat. By fighting between ourselves, we expose our weaknesses, and our enemies exploit this. We lost Madagascar. We lost a country, a people, buildings, homes, loved ones, and on top of that, a strategic position. Learn from Madagascar. We must do it if we are to survive. We are at war. This means we must work together and show a united front. Any chinks within this armour must be addressed in reasonable ways. I implore everybody to remember this. When we are united, we can take back our homes, take back Madagascar, and take back our world. Alone and making petty claims amongst each other, we may well as well hand this earth over on a plate. Learn from the mistakes and take a step forward. Was Lord Grey right or wrong to do what he did? That, listeners, is a question for you to decide, and for Mr. Smythe to ascertain. Other news now. The emerging nation of the Argentine Collective finds itself still under attack of a full Martian war host on its northern borders. With the decision by the FAU to veto its inclusion into TRIAC, the country finds itself embattled and needing to plead for the aid of other nations to help in this fight. The FAU has refused help, saying that it has enough troubles to deal with, and the other TRIAC nations have sent small forces to help, but nothing like what is necessary to break the back of the host. Surprisingly, only the newly ratified government of independent Kandy has risen to the call, and the nation has sent a full fleet of Aether ships along with ground forces to aid in the fight. Is this a play for alliance from the small nation? Are we wrong about President Reinhardt's intentions? It seems that only time will tell. There have been reports around the globe of red-skinned creatures appearing out of what seem to be Aether portals and attacking the military forces they encounter with great fury and skill. These creatures are an unknown entity as yet, but the Chronicle has received reasons to believe that they are called Ifrit and have something to do with the disappearance of Miss Dixie Valentine and the CGM, or Colossal Gargantuan Monstrosity, earlier this year. Whoever they are, and whatever they want, it seems that we have a new player on the board, and one it seems that are at odds with us. It appears that humanity once again finds itself with another enemy. the new Republic of Caledonia has received its first help from the Australians in the form of a vast gift of red steel that has gone towards building an enormous new defensive construction on the foundations of Hadrian's Wall. The NROC now has the means to defend itself, and the huge red steel wall should be an effective deterrent against any new threats to its borders. The Arctic Concord is on the move. Yes, it seems that Concordia is, according to Sir Henry Lansing, and I quote, "We are done with our northern sojourn and travelling south. If the collective want the north so badly, then they can have it. We are finished and have a new chapter to write as the Antarctic Concord." So it seems that Concordia can move. I suppose it should not surprise us in this age of flying cities and golden shields. Will the Russians let the Concord leave? Only time will tell. Let us hope that bloodshed can be avoided and cool heads prevail. The Vatican League have appeared on the political scene in the last few months and have become very active in the world and the war. I had the pleasure of speaking to High Cardinal Vincenzo Franco some weeks ago, and he was kind enough to provide this statement on behalf of the League, which I will read to you now. While it has been the position of the Vatican League to remain neutral on political matters in the past, we cannot in good faith stand by while the Martian menace continues to pose such a threat to us all. It is for that reason the League has begun to take a more proactive role in the war effort, and shall be offering our aid to those who are in need, as our actions in the IEU and assistance in the evacuation of Madagascar has shown. We shall not stand idly by anymore. For this reason, while we shall be neutral in affiliation where able, we shall no longer remain silent on the actions of other nations. The Vatican does not condone the recent actions of the Commonwealth of Britannia, and hopes that they are able to accept the penance they have been given and mend their ways. We also offer our support to the people of the Argentine Collective, while others may turn a blind eye to your plight. The League stands with you. We also welcome the Haven territories to the world stage. To those from all walks of life and faith who seek peaceful coexistence and equality, we welcome you with open arms. But to those who see us as a small nation, weak from our compassion, I have a message for you. Be you not so sanguine in your beliefs of superiority, for be you brother or sister, you will find us as capable of greater vengeance and furious anger as any. Heed our words wisely before you try to go to war with us, for we will give you only one warning, and that was it. In further news, I have had a request to read an anonymous letter from a very disgruntled customer of P.T. Barnum's greatest show on earth. Mr. Barnum has been unavailable for comment and not been seen for many months, but in the interest of free speech, I will read this letter now and attempt to give Mr. Barnum every chance to reply. Dear P.T. Barnum, in my humble opinion, your so-called greatest show on earth is nothing but a fraud and a death trap, populated by a host of cannibalistic midget clowns, whom I have to say were not funny in the slightest. We visited the show in Barenberg, Prussia, and were greeted by a rather obnoxious little fellow, whose opening line was a menacingly ground, "What's wrong? Don't you like clowns? Aren't we funny? Don't we make you laugh?" Personally, I consider this to be the most appalling customer service, and feel all your staff would benefit from considerable training and re-education in this area. This same individual later headbutted one of our group just for asking a question, and quipped threateningly, "Tell me, you got any clown in you? Do you want some?" They also completely failed to provide suitable directions to your murder ride, an attitude which undoubtedly leads to a considerable loss of custom for this intriguing-sounding attraction. We also witnessed these miserable and surly clowns chopping up human body parts for their consumption, with a dead Hyrcanian next to the on the to-do pile. It was all we could do to escape with our lives. Quite frankly, I'm shocked, as I doubt that any of these blood-soaked and so-called clowns have any sort of qualifications in the art of catering, and the conditions for meat preparation were completely unsanitary, albeit they did have a rather large collection of sharp knives, and appeared to be incredibly skilled in the butchery. Because of this, we were also forced to cut short our plans to visit your collection of wax sculpts of famous killers in history, and so missed what was probably a most fascinating and highly educational exhibit. I would also like to point out that the manacles with which your Reptid and Hyrcanian exhibits were chained seemed a tad small for the limbs around which they were clamped, and the small and dismal cages need considerable cleaning and fresh bedding if you were wishing to attract more viewers for your freak show. I'm also not sure that the Reptid tails should be docked, or that their scales are detachable, even though your staff had obviously kept trying for some considerable time. I've also heard rumours that people change when they watch your show, and they come out in a daze without memory, just a sense of wonder. I would like to know exactly how bad the show in the Big Top is if you have to make people forget what they have actually seen. What has been done to them in there? Is such mesmerism necessary because your show is so appallingly lacking in even the smallest iota of entertainment? Potentially your efforts could be more usefully focused on providing the latter, and less on employing murderous cannibals and harbouring infamous serial killers. Perhaps the only mitigating factor in this whole capering fiasco was the complete lack of mimes. However, admittedly, we did not see some parts of the show, due to the aforementioned poor directions and bad signage. In short, however, I should confirm that I was not at all impressed with what had been laughably overbilled as the greatest show on earth, and hereby request a refund of the completely undeserved entrance fee. A customer disgruntled. Finally in this broadcast, we should mention that in just over a month, Lord Grey's cell will once again be venturing out on an excursion. This time to the Russian collective, where the High Cardinal, Efim Vilkin Rasputin, has announced that he will be holding a great exhibition to show off the glory and skill of the Russian scientific community and the advances that have been made while, and I quote, the rest of the world has been squabbling amongst themselves. The exhibition, to be hosted in secret in a research facility in a safe area in the Russian-controlled Deep Red Zone, is purported to be a great celebration of Russian achievement and scientific endeavour. It seems that all nations will be sending ambassadors, apart from the Arctic Concord, as Sir Henry has stated, and I quote, I must decline the High Cardinal's kind offer, but with the move to the south, Concordia needs my undivided attention. I hope he understands that when one controls such a marvel of modern science and engineering, unique in its construction, it would be remiss of me to attend what is ostensibly a gala of scientific pomp and ceremony. It seems that old disagreements will take more than simply a move of location to dissipate. Well, listeners, for now we have come to the end of our allotted time once again. So this is Benedict Forsyth saying goodbye, and keep listening wherever you are.